Welcome to Georgia Highlands College Math 97 and Math 99 video tutorials. In this video segment, we'll answer the question, how do you find the LCD, or the least common denominator, of rational expressions? So the first step in this process is to factor each denominator completely. Because we know that least common denominator, we're looking for factors that multiply together to make a bigger number. So if you're looking at factors, you need to have your denominators factored. You list the factors of the first denominator. Add to this list in step 2, so this list of this first denominator, add to that list any factors from the second denominator that don't show up in the first list. Then you're going to form the product of all of those factors that you've gathered together, and that product is the LCD. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. All right, so this first example I have, we're going to try to find the LCD between 3 over 10x squared and 7 over 15x. And since we're looking for an LCD, we really only need to be focusing on the denominators here. So looking for the LCD between 10x squared and 15x. So the first step is to factor each of these denominators completely. So 10x squared is the same thing as 2 times 5 times x times x. That's its prime factorization there. And for 15x, the prime factorization is 3 times 5 times x. All right, so now that we have both of these denominators factored, our second step is to list the factors of the first denominator. So our first factors are 2, 5, x, and x. And the third step in the process is to add to this list. And we want to add any factors of the second denominator that don't show up in the first. So if I look at my list of factors in the second denominator, I've already got an x listed, so I don't need that, and I've already got a 5 listed. However, I don't have a 3, so I need to add it to my list from step 2 there. And then the final step in this process is to actually multiply these together to get the LCD. So for 10x squared and 15x, the LCD is 2 times 5 times x times 3. And you can leave it in its factored form, or you can multiply it all together and say that the LCD is 30x squared. All right, moving on to the example on the right-hand side of the screen. This one's a little more complex. We have 7x squared plus 28x. Once again, we're only focusing on the denominators, trying to find the least common denominator. So to factor 7x squared plus 28x, we have a greatest common factor of 7x, and when I divide both of those terms by 7x, I'm left with x plus 4. And my next denominator, x squared plus 8x plus 16. Well, this is a trinomial, and my leading coefficient is +1. So I just need to find the factors of 16 that multiply to make 8, and that is 4 and 4. So this factors as x plus 4 times x plus 4. All right, so our first factors, we have 7x, x plus 4. Now we move to our second factor denominator, and I've got 1x plus 4, so I don't need that one, but I've got this other one hanging out, so I do need to add that second one to my LCD, or to my list that will form the LCD. So the LCD for these denominators is 7 times x plus 4 times x plus 4. You can leave it in that form, or you could also call this 7x times x plus 4 squared. I hope that this has been helpful for you in understanding how to find the least common denominator of rational expressions. Now, you'll probably never use this process standing alone by itself. What you'll be using it for is to help you add and subtract rational expressions with unlike denominators. This is the process that you go through to find that common denominator, which is the least common denominator that you're looking for. So if you have any questions about just the process of finding a least common denominator, please make sure that you ask your Highlands instructor. Thank you.